everybody. Welcome back to On the Line with Babsie. I'm your host, Michèle Haines, coming at you live from soundbox.la. And if you're interested in reaching us, you can find us on Instagram at CheleOnEarth. That's CHELE on Earth, or CheleOnEarth.com. We don't have our own website right now because I really don't feel like setting it up. And we know my mom's not going to do it. She's way too busy. So, you know what? Let's give her a call and see what she's been up to. Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. I'm fine.
That's good.
How is Tim there?
Yes.
Oh, hello, Tim. How are you? Oh, I'm fine. Thank you, Tim. Well, that's good.
You know, we couldn't do this if Tim wasn't here, so he's always here.
I do know that.
Okay.
I really do know that, but I forget that he can respond, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Yes, I thought maybe he's in a special booth where he can't speak or something.
Like in space?
Oh, no. I don't know. You know what you do in a studio exactly, but anyway. So, yes. So, how is your weather and everything? Well,
it's
maybe
California.
I shouldn't talk yet. Yes, I saw that you have high winds today, and you had an advisory for haze, and was it foggy and everything?
It was a few days ago. I didn't really notice.
Oh.
Huh.
It wasn't smoke, was it?
Oh, yeah, there's smoke.
Oh, still fires?
Yes.
Oh, dear. Oh,
sorry, I'm falling asleep. I'm sure there's something more exciting that we can talk about.
Oh, I thought you were calling someone else.
Yeah, we're about to, but I was just seeing if you had anything that you wanted to share.
Oh, sure.
Whoops.
Oh.
Whoops.
I did hear
Yeah.
that. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought, okay, well, you tell me what you'd like me to do.
Okay. Well, if you have nothing that you want to talk about, we'll call our guest.
Oh, well, if you want to call your guest, of course, but I do have something to tell you.
Then please do.
Yes, I got a ticket from the state of Maryland.
Oh, congratulations.
I have almost never gotten a ticket, only warnings. And yes, but I was traveling on a 2-lane highway, and there's a left turn red signal, but I saw the green and everyone was going, and I made my turn, but I went through a red arrow. And I thought, oh no, I think that man is correct in coming towards me and making a turn. So he had the right, because he had a green arrow, to make his right hand turn, and I went through a red arrow, and I almost hit him, but I didn't, and everything was okay. But it was funny because I knew I was going to get a ticket. I thought, oh dear, the ticket will come in the mail. Well, when I came home, David, of course, was working, so we didn't chit-chat. And then I forgot about it. Yesterday, he checked the mail, and he said, oh, no, I got a ticket. He said, I'm really sorry. I said, well, where did you get the ticket? And I didn't think anything of it. I said, that's okay. You know, everybody sometimes gets a ticket. Mm-hmm. He said, well, it's a red arrow near Sprouts. I said, Oh, what car was that? Well, it was the car with my lucky nail in the tire.
Okay.
But yes, I've had this lucky nail in the tire for 2 years.
Wow.
And on the run flat tire, it must be in a place where it hasn't punctured anything. And it has been wonderful. But when the temperature changed, I got a signal flat tire, low tire, I'm sorry. So I was going up to BMW to be very dissatisfied with having to buy two new tires to match them and everything, and they're brand new tires. And I thought, oh, my lucky nail has turned on me. So I went up, and Steve came out, and he said, which tire, is the lucky tire? I said, the left front. And I said, oh, Steve, I hope it's okay. So he made sure that the two front tires matched and everything in air pressure. He said, there's nothing wrong with it. It's fine. I said, oh, my lucky nail is fine.
Hooray!
So it's been fine ever since. So I think we'll go another year. Anyway,
Well,
that's the end of my story.
I
Yes.
have a lucky nail too, and I was going to make a necklace
you
out
do?
of it. So once yours comes out of the tire, we can have matching necklaces.
Oh, okay. Maybe we can have them dipped in silver or something so they don't get funny.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know.
I
Yes. Oh,
I
but
was,
did your tire go flat?
it wasn't from my tire.
Oh,
I'll
where
tell
was it?
you.
Oh, sorry.
I was at Matt's family's house, and his brother Steven, Matt, my former boyfriend Matt, and his brother
Yes.
Steven was doing some work, and I guess
Yes.
he had a nail gun, and somehow the nail got away, and it shot
Oh,
right
no.
above my head.
Oh, my goodness. That's
And
dangerous.
Matt said it looked like the Matrix, where that one little hair moved in the wind of the
Oh.
nail, and it missed me. And then,
Oh,
yeah, of
my
couress, Matt
goodness.
yelled at him for a while.
Yes.
And then I kept the nail. I'm like, oh, this is lucky.
Well, yes. So we have lucky nails. That's
Oh, we have so much in
wonderful, honey.
common. Wow.
I know this should be so exciting to everybody. Everybody should have a lucky nail.
Yes,
But
they
this
should.
truly it is, but you were very fortunate you didn't get hit. There's a saying, a frog, let me see.
Oh, here we
I'm
go.
as good as a frog with a hair split in three.
You want to
Something like
explain
that.
Does that
Well,
make
if the hair
sense?
is just one, you're sort of okay. If the hair is split in three, that means you're very good. So you're a frog with a hair split in three.
What's the relation between a frog and a hare?
They don't have hair.
Right. Oh. Okay.
To tell you the truth, I don't know.
Okay.
But it's a Kentucky saying.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, I can see why it hasn't left Kentucky, because I don't know if it's gonna make much sense to the rest of us.
Well, no, I don't get it either. But
Okay.
a toad, no, a frog doesn't have hair. So anyway, I don't get it either.
Well, we can
Probably
Google
nobody
it.
else will either.
No.
Yes. Oh,
Well,
I don't think even Google would know.
well, anyone listening in Kentucky will be like, that's a good one.
Well, Kentucky people will know, and welcome
Good.
to us. Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Great. Well,
Yes.
expand our
Okay, so-
horizons.
Yes. Yes. Oh,
Well-
you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
But yes, I'm trying to think of what else has happened.
Well, I'll tell you
Oh.
something. Uh-oh, what?
Oh, yes. No, tell me.
Well, I wasn't going to tell you this, but it has to do with your traffic situation.
Uh-oh.
I
What?
well, I was driving here in West Hollywood and crossing an intersection,
Yes.
and I saw this black streak, like blur, coming at me from the left in my peripherals, and I just
Oh,
cringed. And then
yeah.
nothing happened, and I looked, and nothing was
Oh,
there. So I'm like, oh, well, that's good. And
oh,
then
thank
later,
goodness.
hours later, I was crossing another intersection, and again, that blur was coming. Same
Yeah.
exact situation, but this time it was a girl on a blue bike, and she crashed into my door. She
Oh.
she ran a red light, and I was going through on green, and yeah,
Oh.
I actually cried for a few days, and but she's
Oh, honey.
okay. I couldn't get.
Yes.
I tried to get out of the car, but I was stuck in my seatbelt, and just from the shock of it, I tried to roll my window down, but it wouldn't
Sure.
go down, and I was calling to her through the crack of the
Oh.
window. And just long story short, I got out, and it turns out that my door was so bashed in that the window wouldn't go down. But
Oh.
she and I were holding hands facing each other, and I'm like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And she said, "Yes, I'm
Yes,
sorry. I'm
yes.
sorry. I messed up." She was trying to make
Yeah.
the light, but she didn't have time.
Oh.
And
Oh.
yeah, and the people on my left were just like going around her, and she didn't go flying.
Oh.
She toppled over,
T-
so that's a good
yes.
sign. And then like
Oh.
we were just hugging, and I was making sure she was okay. And then
Oh,
finally she
yes.
convinced me and went off with her friends, but her bike was not damaged, and
But your car is damaged?
yeah, it's in the shop, but it was covered by
Oh, it's
insurance. But anyway,
covered. Oh, thank goodness. Oh, I'm so sorry. That little car is getting bumped around by
a little.
so many people, but I'm certainly glad she's all right, and I'm
Yeah, me
certainly
too.
glad that the car is covered and yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
poor
but
little
it's interesting.
car.
I thought back later, as soon as I got home,
Well,
I reported it to non-emergency police since my
oh,
insurance company wasn't open then because it was a weekend. And
sure.
Matt happened to text, so we were talking through text, and I was pretty
Oh,
upset and worried about her still. And
oh,
he said that, well, remember in New York when, we saw people on bikes like
yeah.
bash into cars over the
Oh,
handlebars, fall into the street, get up, get on their bike, and take off. And so I thought,
yes.
oh man,
She's
he's right. It
young.
wasn't anything like that. She hit and she
Right.
fell over. She did not go
Yeah,
flying. So that
right.
was that helped me feel a
Well,
little better
much,
about it.
yes, I think much better when you hit a car
Hmm.
rather than the car hitting you.
Well,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
could be much heavier. It's like a tank. Yes.
right.
But anyway, oh, well, I'm glad she's okay, and I'm glad your little car will be
Yeah.
okay. I'm sorry that that
Yeah. So
happened.
my car is back with Fidel, and he's going. I'm going to ask him to be a guest at some point because he's got a lot of
Yes.
good things to talk about. But anyway.
Oh, I'm sure, and you're getting to be like Frank. You love theatrical. What
I
is
just missed them so much.
it?
I had to manifest something. But it was interesting that
Oh,
that precog blur that I saw earlier in the day, and then it actually happened.
yeah.
Like that was very
Yes,
interesting.
it
But
is interesting.
is
You
there
had
any
a bit of a sign.
yeah, is there
Yeah.
anything else you wanted to talk about, or
Oh, well, no. Why? I mean, I probably could think of something, but you go ahead and call your guest because it'll
okay.
be very interesting. And who is the guest?
The guest is Lance Daniel. He is an
Lance.
attorney that I met when I first moved here at a creative
Lovely.
event, and he has a
Okay.
lot of interesting things to talk about.
Oh, well, that's
Oh,
wonderful.
oh,
Yeah, so, okay, let's
all right.
get him on the line then.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Oh, I'm
Yes,
very happy to have a guest.
yes.
We are having a guest, yes.
whatever.
Yes.
Well,
We
we have to
and
dial him
you.
in, so. Oh, there it
Sure.
is.
Is he waiting?
Yes, he's been waiting
Hello.
since noon. Hello. Hi, Lance.
Hello.
Hello. Is that your machine?
Hello, this is Lance. If
Oh,
somebody
no.
named Shelley is calling on Sunday,
Okay.
please leave a message and I'll get back to you in a month or two.
Oh, shoot.
Oh,
Okay. Well,
isn't that cute? That must be for you. Oh, he's laughing too.
yeah.
Oh, isn't that cute? He left you a message.
Are you
Oh,
serious?
Is that you for sure, Lance?
That's not me laughing at you
Oh, it is.
spontaneously. That's part of the recording.
Oh, it is. Oh, how cute. Well, it's very nice to meet you, Lance. This is Barbara in Maryland. I'm Michelle's mother.
He knows.
Oh, hello, Barbara. It is nice to meet you too. I've heard a lot of wonderful and sometimes funny things about you, so it's a pleasure.
Goodness. Oh, it's a pleasure to meet you too, Lance. I hope some of the stories aren't too out of the ordinary.
Not at all.
No, seriously?
Yes.
No, not at all. Actually, when I'm driving on the freeway or down a road and the sun is setting and it's right in your eyes, I can hear your voice, which Shelley does so well.
They built the road right into the sun.
That's exactly right.
Yes,
Just like that.
She does mimic me very well. Oh my goodness,
Well,
I can't believe it.
I love the sound of your voice, and I created an animated series, and once that thing gets produced, I want Shelley to be part of it. She did the table reading. She's really fabulous. And I would love to have your voice included in that.
Oh my
Yes,
goodness,
indeed.
Lance. You know, when I was growing up, I never spoke because everyone made fun of my voice. And I had to repeat the first grade because I wouldn't speak. And I went to a Catholic school, and the nuns in those days, you know, people didn't, they seemed to not address what could be wrong with the child. Why isn't she speaking? They just had my mother come in and say, Barbara isn't speaking, and we would have to have her repeat the first grade. So I spoke a little more, but it was very, very difficult because my voice was unusual, and they were mercilessly cruel. You know, would call me little names like, here's the little mouse, you know, and it hurts so much when you're young. But now that I'm older, I think, why, maybe I could be something someday.
You're already something, and you're making up for those years of not speaking. So.
Well, I guess so, because now I think, Michelle, I don't know if you heard the episode when I tried to order from a Chinese restaurant in Greenwich, Connecticut, and I said I would like to order 2 entrees, please. And the Chinese owner said, we do not take order from child. And I said, oh, well, no, this is not a child. I would like to order the chicken and the beef, please.
You don't have to
And
repeat
he
the whole
said,
episode.
Oh, that's right. So
We get it.
anyway, I had to hand the phone to my cousin, and she said, we would like to order, and he took the order from her, and the rest of the story is we received our dinner, and I paid for it, and I said, by the way, that was oh, yes, and that's it. Yes.
Well, you know, that is
Yeah.
a very lovely story, and I'm glad that you got past your little childhood traumas, and
I am,
and having to go to
yes.
21 different schools and repeat the.
Oh, no, I didn't repeat every grade. In fact,
No, I
when
meant the
we were
little
in
traumas.
Europe, oh, the little traumas. Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no, no. If someone says, may I speak to your mother on the telephone, I said, this is the mother. And I hung up. So that's
Good.
all. Yes.
Great. Well, I
Yeah.
like to do impressions of you, and Lance
Yes.
does very good impressions of one of his family members if he would like
Oh.
to.
Oh, I
Oh,
would
no.
love
Oh,
to hear.
yes.
Oh, no.
It is my favorite
Oh, Lance.
thing
We're,
ever.
we're already only a few minutes in, and you suddenly want to drive everybody away with Phyllis.
No.
So let me give you a little. I'll do it.
Okay.
I'll
Yes.
do it. Okay.
Oh,
But-
wonderful.
Let me give a little backstory to this.
Oh, yes,
okay,
please.
so my aunt Phyllis was born and raised in Brooklyn, and has spent. Yeah. So you heard of the place, right?
Oh, very much so. Yes.
I heard one time a tree grew there, but I'm not sure about that exactly.
Oh, that
Um,
tree in Brooklyn. Yes. What a wonderful
Yes, yes,
movie. Yes.
Oh yes, yes. Or it was a shrubbery. I'm not quite sure, but
Yeah.
so anyway, I guess it was some kind of flora. Well,
Yes.
Phyllis goes from 0 to hysterical in less than a second.
Oh, that's
So-
wonderful.
I was I was doing stand-up comedy before the vid, before the zombie apocalypse, and I was adding different voices into my routine. And I thought, it'd be funny if I added her voice into my imitation of people trying out or auditioning for a laundry product, right?
Yeah.
So I did the voice, which a woman I was dating at the time said was so annoying I should never do it again.
No, no.
Oh.
It's not.
Of course, with that kind of challenge, I would bring the voice up, and then she would turn me down later for a romantic evening, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yes, I do.
But for some reason, the audience would come up to me, members of the audience would come up to me afterwards, and they're like, that voice is the funniest voice. And
Yes.
it's accidental. I wouldn't have thought that. But
Yes.
so, so her voice is already like this all the time. So it's like, take a sweater. And it's like, oh, no, it's not that kind. Just take a sweater. You're tired. You're such a yes about
Oh, I know people like that.
Yeah, I bet you do.
That's wonderful. Oh, please go on.
Well, I mean, my dad was from Brooklyn too, obviously, because he was
Yes.
her brother, and
Yes.
but see, he had that Brooklyn accent that sounded like this, right?
Sure.
Right. So my father sold underwear for 42 years for Fruit of the Loom.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
he did. I got to tell you,
Yes.
he made more money selling underwear than I ever made as a lawyer.
Yeah.
And he,
Yes.
and, he was
Everybody
that coffee
needs it.
drinking. Oh yeah. You know what he called it? He called
What?
it. He called it the masses that cover your asses.
Oh, that is so clever. Oh,
So
my
when
goodness.
you understand. His name was Robert, but everyone called him Bob.
Yes.
And he was that World War II in the Army generation from Brooklyn, smoked cigars, drank coffee, loved to
Yes.
talk about sports, and he was like that kind of a guy. But didn't talk about his experiences in the war. That whole generation, which I really appreciated, is just gone. And it's
Yes.
but
Yes.
but he would say things like, "Wait a minute, you want to be a lawyer? Nobody likes lawyers." Okay, look. Okay, when you go to a concert and you have fun with your friends, you buy a T-shirt, right? To remember your fun that you had at that concert. And a T-shirt is underwear, okay? So that makes you feel good when you put it on because you're remembering, the event, right? Now, when you go to a lawyer, they charge you a bunch of money. You don't even know what it's for. So, underwear, good. Lawyers, bad. Any questions?
Oh,
Well, way to
Oh.
take
And
it
then,
as
of course-
advice.
No, I didn't take his advice.
No, that's okay.
But I had other relatives that were characters. Yeah, my other aunt sounded like a parrot.
Oh.
She did? She sounded like a parrot. She's still alive, I think. I thought she died years ago, and I was shocked to find out she was still alive.
Oh, my goodness.
Surprise.
I'm so glad she's still alive.
Yeah, but you know, I had a different name. Shelley knows I had a different name, and I changed it legally when I was 19. And
I see.
Oh, yes, her voice was part of the reason because I kept hearing it in my head from the time I was little.
Yes.
And there was a basketball player named Earl Monroe, which they called Earl the Pearl Monroe, and my name was Earl. And she liked to call me Early Pearly, but she said it like a parrot. Early Pearly, Early Pearly. Early Pearly. Yeah, and it stuck in my head.
Oh, my goodness. That's so cute.
Well, it wasn't that cute.
Well, I mean, I love her voice. It's very unique, and it's very amusing. I have to say, Michelle, I don't know if you can do Uncle Frank, but my mother had 2 sisters, so there are 3 sisters and a brother. Well, if you could have heard his Brooklyn accent, oh my goodness, he was drafted into the Army, and he would say, "Yeah, that colonel's telling me what to do again," and he wouldn't listen to the colonel or anybody, and he was busted to private or something, and he was a little bit of the black sheep with a heart of gold. I mean, you couldn't help loving him, but he smoked Camel cigarettes down to the last half inch, and they would, almost burn his finger, and he liked his little whiskey. The girls were quite the opposite. They had very good jobs, chairman of the board, secretary of General Rhee on Park Avenue. One was an attorney's assistant in Times Square, and my mother worked in the financial district. And Uncle Frank was a marble cutter and a marble polish and everything. And he was a tough fella, maybe 6'5", I don't know, 270 pounds. But what an accent. I think Michelle can do Uncle Frank. I'm not sure, but
I don't know. It's probably just like a deep smoker. Something like that.
Very thick Brooklyn accent and a tough guy, but such a heart of gold. He used to call me Peepers. He said, Peepers, someday you're going to grow into those eyes. And I said, oh, okay, Unky. And, but I can't do him. Michelle may develop his voice someday. Wow. But what I'm getting to is, I don't know what I'm getting to, but I understand that the tough Brooklyn, but hearts of gold, and also his marble work was so good. They had him and co-workers. He did the lobby of the Empire State Building and a lot, my aunt said, in the Chrysler Building and banks and everything. So I feel so at home in New York when we go, but I'm not going to New York now because it is so unsafe right now, and they're having a lot of problems there. But anyway. But we'll get back to you, Lance. But what I wanted to ask you is, what is your expertise in the law?
Comedy.
Comedy.
Well,
Oh, okay. It's always good to have a comedic lawyer.
Yeah.
And I think it's very wrong when people say, "Oh, lawyers are bad." I don't agree with that because we've had some very good lawyers.
Good.
Yes.
well, I don't practice law anymore.
I thought you were a practicing lawyer.
No, I didn't tell you.
see.
I didn't tell you everything yet. I'm letting Lance fill you
No, I
in.
don't know the background. Yes.
Right.
Oh, okay. I thought you were a practicing attorney. Yes. But you're a comedian now, correct?
Well, yes, and I'll tell you my little story. I had my own practice. I was doing very, very well. I had a beautiful home, and I lived in the best neighborhood in town up in Northern California.
Oh.
And I always walk a lot. I love to go for long walks, and I find it relaxing.
Yes.
I just like it. So one day I was walking, and I started to think, is this going to be my life now forever?
Yes.
I'm just going to keep walking around this park until I end up with the non-union hip fracture, and then I'm in a wheelchair. And then it's sort of when the front caster on the wheelchair is broken, so I end up slamming into like this vinyl curtain, and somebody that doesn't speak English is going through my pocket looking for change, and and I thought, well, is that really where I wanted to go? And then maybe if they might later wheel me into the daylight activity room where there's actually no activity, and there'll be some rerun of the Rockford Files on again. I mean,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
oh, I love the Rockford Files, but and I thought, what,
understand.
I need to do something else. I really need to do something. I want to do something, and what would that be? And by the time I finished my walk, I decided I was going to close my practice, sell my house, and move to LA and get into show business.
Oh my goodness! Yes.
With no training, no experience, no connections, and not knowing anything.
Wasn't Aunt Phyllis your coach?
Oh yeah. Say it like this already. Why are you talking about that?
That reminds me of Michelle.
What?
Packing up and leaving for California, and
I'm sure.
It was a surprise to me. But anyway, yes, please go on. Yes.
So, I think the world of Michelle. I really do. Except I call her Shelley because to me,
thank you.
she feels like Shelley.
That's
works
sweet.
for me.
Yes, I call her Dolly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Let's not start with the nicknames here.
Oh, okay.
All
right.
Boo boo.
Oh boy. You know what? Crossing the line there, Babsie.
No. Yes.
Okay, so Lance is walking and he has an epiphany.
Yes.
Yeah. So I do what I say. I sell my house. And I move to LA, and I go from my house to this little one-bedroom apartment, and have an adventure. Well, it has been quite the adventure, but I got to tell you, I love being around creative people. Love it. It's energizing for me. It's fun. And there are things that I didn't know that I didn't know. Like, so when I was practicing law, which, to answer your question, I primarily did criminal defense.
I see. Oh, that's difficult.
Not really. I actually find the practice law easy.
But I mean, my husband, one of his colleagues was in criminal law, and she just couldn't take it. Maybe it was her personality because she had to go to the lockups and everything, and she said, I just can't take it. And also she was shot outside her apartment, and I think that cured her, and she left Baltimore. She lived in a lovely part of Baltimore, but she said, that's it. And she moved to Hawaii and started to practice out there. And she said, I just can't take criminal law. But I actually worked for a criminal lawyer, but it ended very quickly.
Yeah, tell Lance how you told him off.
Well, no, it wasn't Shane that I told. He was in court at the time, and Shane really liked me. It was the young lawyer who was head of the firm who, yes. But I don't want to interrupt Lance.
Well, just say what you said to him, and then we can move on.
Oh, well, I was making a schedule for them with the district court and circuit court, and I had written everything on his schedule and everything. But I went into his office and I said, may I just have this particular day off for a doctor's appointment, and I will, stay late the next day or anything, whatever you need. And he said, oh, sure. So I erased the schedule that I was going to be there, so he knew I wouldn't be there. Well, when I came back from my appointment, he said, where were you? And I said, well, I had told you that I wouldn't be here. And he said, well, I don't remember that. I said, oh. So anyway, they started to argue, the wife and him, and to make a long story short, I mean, they were going through now, Barbara decided to do this and Barbara, blah, blah. Well, I said, you really have to grow up. And the next day, I had to give them the keys back. So, anyway, that was the end of my career as a legal secretary. I lasted about 4 months.
Oh, wow.
And I came home to my husband, who was an attorney, and I said, David, they took the keys from me just because I told him to grow up. And he said, you told him what? And I said, well, he needed to grow up. I said, it was so silly. And David said, well, you usually don't tell your boss to grow up. I said, well, David, I said, they're young and they don't understand that this was such a little thing and making such a fuss. I said, you really need to grow up. So he said, may I have the keys, please? And I said, oh, of course. And I walked out the door and I thought, well, that's it for my career as a social secretary to an attorney.
Well, I'm sure he's all grown up now. Anyway. So back to our guest.
Yes, so back to Lance, our guest.
Oh, hey, you've been a great boss, and don't forget to tip your servers. They are working hard for you.
Right.
So I understand what you're saying, but see, I modulated what I did based on my instincts.
Mm-hmm.
The way that I practiced law was always very instinctual and spontaneous, so I didn't write anything down when I was doing trials, and so my so I had a part-time secretary who she one day she said, don't you have closing arguments at 1:30? And I said yes, and I was eating a burger, and she goes, what are you going to say? And I honestly, I just said, I don't know. I never know what I'm going to say. She goes, well, don't you think it through? No. Well, wait a minute. So you got a jury, you got a judge, you got people in the courtroom, right? And it's a case where the press was following it too. And I go, they're going to be like quoting you or writing stuff down. I go, well, how do you know what you're going to say? And I said, well, when the judge looks at me and he says, counsel, and that's usually what they say. They look at you and go, counsel. As in, counsel, you want to make a closing statement.
Yes.
And that's like a director in a movie or yelling action, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I'll stand up and I'll face the jury and I will open my mouth and words will come out. And
let's hope so.
And I said, but what happened is by doing that, and this is just true anyway, people respond to genuine emotion.
Mm-hmm.
People
Exactly.
respond to a genuine, conversational talk. And
Yes,
if you have
instead
some
of
kind of
scripted. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the prosecutors often would stand behind the lectern. It's not a
Yes.
freaking podium, for God's sake. It's a podium you stand on. A lectern is the thing in front of you that the preacher's
Right.
behind, right? And
Yes,
I would,
yes.
so they go first, and I would always push the lectern aside, and I would just talk.
Yes.
Because I didn't like things blocking me, but they would have everything on their little cards, or they'd have it on their PowerPoint,
Yes.
And that is too stilted. It doesn't, it
Yes.
doesn't ring true.
Now, I
and
understand. Yes.
I would use language that they could. I mean, I could sense them. You can tell when people are following you and when they're not. That doesn't mean I
Exactly.
won every trial. I certainly didn't. No. Anybody
Right.
that tells you that they won every trial in a criminal case is out and out lying, unless they only did one trial.
Yes. Yes.
There's
yes.
no way.
Busted.
I mean, even the Yankees lose games. They might be the best team,
Yes.
of the whole era, but sometimes they still lost some games, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But,
yes. Of course.
So I would say things not when a jury was there necessarily, but
Yes.
I actually said things in open court with attorneys all around, and the
Yes.
judge. I'd be talking with the judge, and I would say things like, "Your Honor, we all know
Yes.
that this is called a hearing, but are you actually listening?"
Oh, I bet.
It's called a hearing, but you're not listening,
No.
right? And usually
Did
they go,
he respond
"Lance,
to you,
Lance."
though? Yes.
Were they what?
Did
I'm
he
sorry, I missed your
respond to that?
Yeah, usually by going, "Lance," you see, you have to have a certain level of credibility, blah, 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 and I
Yeah.
could tell there's certain judges. I one time did an entire hearing doing a Russian spy accent.
Oh, boy.
Oh, I bet that
Did
was
I-
enjoyable.
Oh, yes. Judge
For everyone.
This. Throughout your hearing, I talk like this.
How do you get away with that?
Oh, by the way, that guy that was on the bench used to be the United States attorney. How do you get away with it? Well, you see,
Goodness. Yes.
you have to know how to do these things. And so, because most lawyers aren't
Yes.
very good. They just aren't. And most trial lawyers are terrible. It's not like TV, where everything is scripted.
No. Yeah. Yeah. No, TV is not depicting it in the right way.
Yeah. I've told jurors in closing statements that my client's a loser and an idiot.
Oh, great.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Well, yeah.
I
don't blame you.
understand. I would do that because it was so obvious
Yeah.
that what he did was only something a loser or an idiot or both would do. But then I would say
Right.
things like, but he's not but this doesn't mean he committed a crime. I mean, I'm just
Correct.
stating the obvious. Right. But anyway, these days, anytime something criminal occurs, people call me and I try to stay away from it,
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, did Shelley tell you how we first met?
I'm
No.
not sure. I don't think so. We don't.
No,
talk
it
as
was
much
at
as
a.
we should.
We save it for the
Oh, well,
podcast. It was at a Creator
no,
Society event. I was there with my friend Kyle, and he didn't feel like walking around the room, so he sat down with a bunch of ladies, and I went around talking to people, and one of those peeps was Lance.
Well, what's wonderful. It was meant to be.
Oh!
Right. The thing is that when I first saw Shelley, I thought,
Yeah.
wow, she looks like an interesting person. She looks like somebody would be fun to talk with.
Yes,
And certainly she is. She has a marvelous sense of humor, really marvelous.
I
She
know.
is
I wonder where I get
she is
that
the
from.
funniest person. I don't know, but I want her to be very happy and successful. I really want that.
Thank
And
Oh, I do too.
well, she's got she's got the talent. There's no doubt about it. She's got the work ethic for sure, and
Yes.
and I appreciate all that in her. I really do.
Yes. Oh, thank
So
you. That's wonderful to hear.
when I did a table read, when I did a table read, do you know what a table read is, Babs? Excuse me, Barbara. I'm sorry.
That's just fine.
Well, I just said I've always heard your name that one way, and
Yes. Oh, that's just fine. I don't mind at all. A table read isn't that when the characters are sitting at the table and you're reading your script?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And,
Okay. Yes.
So I wanted her to be part of it. It was a fairly large cast that day, and it was at a theater I rented.
Lovely.
And she did a number of character voices that were just spot on perfect. And oh no, really, she was. I was very, very, very happy with that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So anyway, there's no doubt about it. It's a little bit of. I know that someone's going to discover her soon, and then that'll be it. And later on, she'll just be wearing sunglasses at night and pretending like she doesn't know anybody anymore.
Oh no! You know what? That's one thing about Michelle. I don't think she would ever be like that. I think she would remain the person she is. Now she might have to have protection walking with her.
Well, I don't know
Great.
because her sense
I'll
of
bring
humor
Peanut.
is her sense of humor is disarming.
Well, thank you.
Well,
Tell
she started very young. She would have her brother in stitches. I mean, and David is very. How would you describe David, Michelle, as a reserved? He can be funny, but not like you.
he appreciates
David.
He appreciates good humor.
Oh, he does. Well, he thinks she's very talented. I mean,
David is very funny in his own way as just being himself. He would have Nana.
Yes, just being himself. I know. He's writing down all of the things I've done wrong. And I am on detention for 10 days because I dropped my wallet. And he's worried about me being out and running through a red arrow. And then I broke the convertible top. Oh, that's another story.
Great.
Oh, gosh. Yes, anyway, yes, I can't put the top down anymore. But that's something, that just as long as we all stay well and everything. But, yes, that was the story. But anyway, when people are talking to me, yes.
We are jumping around a lot over here. We should mention that.
Go off on tangents.
Yes, that's okay. We all do it. But Lance's project, his animation is called Attorney Man, and
nice.
Yeah, and he can talk about it a little bit if he'd like. I know he's pitching it around.
Yes, I'll keep quiet.
Okay, so actually, it's called Carbuncle.
Oh.
Yes. Yeah, it used to be called Attorney Man.
Got it.
That's okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
The reason it's called Carbuncle. It's Carbuncle. Yes, it's called Carbuncle, and it's mostly highbrow humor, mostly, but it's a mix. The idea is that the main character, a lawyer, is named Lance Carbuncle, and a lot of people don't know what a carbuncle is, but a carbuncle is like a big boil.
Ugh.
And to me, I'm analogizing politics and the law as like a big boil. And so you lance a boil, right? So get it? That's the joke in there, Lance Carbuncle. And he's this young lawyer.
Clever.
He's stuck living with his grandparents in their penthouse apartment. And it got somebody! He got my for God's sake!
I hope Aunt Phyllis is in there.
Oh, she's in there. And,
yes.
Good.
Oh, she has to be.
Her character is is that she teaches art and auto shop at the local high school.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like Michelle.
Yeah, she dreams of being a concert pianist while she's working on a Chevy, you know. And
yes.
she looks like Rosie the Riveter. That's her style.
Oh, my goodness. That's so cute.
Well, that's one of them. So the idea behind the show is I like making people laugh because laughter is the best medicine. I just love it.
Oh,
and
it is.
I wanted to use,
it is.
And so I came up with this idea, and I happened to be visiting a friend of mine who was quite famous in the movie and TV industry. I mean, very famous, actually, for what he did.
Goodness. Yes.
And I was at his ranch, which I called that particular visit the Wizard of Oz tour, because the way the wind blew, I thought the trailer we were in was going to like spin around and we'd end up in Oz. But,
oh, no.
Oh, my goodness.
He was really famous and was on a lot of magazine covers in his day and developed techniques they still use in TV. Okay. So he realized that there was a meeting that he was supposed to go to with a company that produces animation at the highest level, because they wanted to talk to him about a project. So I go with him, and I'm just there to sit there and visit. And about halfway through the meeting, the guy that's running the meeting, he had white hair and this sort of snarly look on his face, and he had his director of development, nice lady. And he kept looking at me, kept glancing at me, and finally he looks at me again and he goes, "Who the hell is that?" And my buddy says, stupidly, he says, "Oh, that's Lance. He's a lawyer." And he goes, "What? You brought a lawyer to this meeting? What the hell?" Right? And and then I go, no. I'm not here as in any kind of official capacity. I was visiting. That's all. And we just happened to have to come over here. And then Frank says, "Well, as long as we're on the subject, Lance came up with this idea, which I think is great, for this animated comedy about this young lawyer who has like quirky antics and clever courtroom maneuvers, and he goes through basically things that are current headlines, and then focuses on them through the lens of the law to create comedy." All right.
Yes.
Well, and his grandparents he lives with are from the old country, so of course they talk in this manner.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right. And so the lady, who's very nice, says, "Well, that's interesting. We're always looking for something new." And the guy running the meeting, who ran the company, said, "No, we're not." And he goes, "Look, listen, mate. I want to tell you something. I'll clean up his language a little bit I'll clean up his language for your podcast purposes."
Thank you.
Right?
Oh,
all right.
okay.
But what he said was, I was like, listen, mate, you're a bleeping nobody from bleeping nowhere, and bleeping nobodies from bleeping nowhere don't get shows on TV. Are we clear? Right? And then he said, "If you were Ricky Gervais, I wouldn't give a bleep what your project was, or a bleep about what you want for it, because he puts asses in seats. Right? Now, you know what? You can just get out of here." That's what he said.
Charming.
So I got up, and Frank was like, no, man. He's my buddy, man. Oh, by the way, Frank talked like this dude, okay? I mean, even though he was like a much older man, and he sounded like a surfer dude, but he didn't look like a surfer dude. But the honest to God dude talked like this, So I just go, no. I don't like. I don't like the mood here. This is just too much, okay? So I go to walk out, and the receptionist does what they always say in LA. They're like, "Well, thanks for reaching out," right? And I go out in the parking lot, and as loud as I can, I'm yelling at this building. In the parking lot, people are walking in and out, and stuff. And I dropped a few expletive deleted myself at the guy. And it was that motivation that got me interested in creating this show.
Oh, my goodness. That is wonderful.
I remember I was yelling at the building. I said, "I don't know anything about creating a TV show or anything about animation, but I will figure it out."
That's right.
Yes. And you are, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I have all the stuff necessary for it. It's just that, there's some things that are required to get it done. But I really want Shelley to be a part of it because
that's
it's
wonderful.
her ability to cold read so well, as if it's a normal conversation, to go fluidly from one character, seamlessly from one character to another. Her energy behind it is so good that I want her to do multiple characters on the show, and she could easily do that. So it'd be great.
Thank you. I did not know that.
Well, the other thing is,
so kind.
Thank you.
the other thing is, she doesn't. I don't know if she does know this or wasn't paying attention, while we were having tea or coffee one day last time I saw her. But there's another lead character. So he has a girlfriend who's a TV reporter, and who's a single mom, and she has a lot more street smarts than he does. The lawyer, he's more bookish,
Yes.
and
Yes.
he can't really tell that his clients are lying to him, but she's obvious to her because she's an investigative reporter, and she's very popular as a morning TV show host. And I think she'd be terrific as that character. The character's named Patience Worth.
Oh.
So,
well,
right.
That's wonderful. Now pay attention, Michelle.
I'm paying attention. But also, since I was paying such good attention, you did mention your what's the word? Oh, now it's gone. Oh, instincts. Yes, instincts, which comes back to your intuition and those very interesting things. And I don't know if you would want to talk about Bevy at all in any of those stories.
Oh my, we're really jumping to a completely different subject.
Yeah.
How much?
It all ties in.
I'm happy to talk about whatever you'd like. It's fun. I love visiting with you guys and talking with Barbara. But what do you want me to say?
Well, I'm so happy to hear everything you're saying.
Yeah.
And I do want to say, Lance, from the time Michelle could, from very, very young, Michelle was in and out of different voices. And I mean, I know what you're talking about because she did it all the time at home. And I thought, oh, my goodness, I can't believe she would mimic one of the funniest teachers she ever had, Mrs. Snyder, when I told her she didn't, well, she accused me of insulting her, but she wasn't very bright. So I got called into the principal's office. But anyway, that's another story.
Right.
But have you ever done in an appellate court? And I said to Michelle, what did you just say? She said the appellate court.
Right. Well, she was teaching English at the time, but they moved her to a different subject after that. But
anyway,
yes. Well, let's go.
But yes. But anyway, well, that's the end of my story.
Okay.
But I don't want to interrupt you because you are much more interesting. But I just wanted you to know. I just wanted you to know that Michelle has been doing voices since she was a little girl. So I understand that when you met her, she was good at what she was doing, but she practiced she didn't have to practice. It came naturally.
All right.
And
well,
her
good
brother
for her.
has been doubled over for years.
Okay.
But anyway, yes. Yes. So, yes, I'll let Lance talk now.
Yeah,
yes.
let's. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry.
yeah, if you want to get into any of those interesting stories about Bevy and manifesting and synchronicities, go for it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay. We're suddenly on. Well, here we go with the law of The law, well, it's the law. So when I was a little kid, I was about 7 years old. My mother had an acquaintance who would come over to our house from time to time to supposedly teach people to use their mind to create things. And I didn't know the word law of attraction then. In fact, I don't even recall that word then. I mean, we were talking 1967. So, you know,
Yes.
Any of that kind of stuff, particularly then and particularly in the Midwest, was just completely, you know, out of sight. It was no, people are insane, right? And she was a heavy set, muumuu wearing, chain smoking, coffee drinking woman who had penny red hair and eyes as black as coal. Which was odd looking. Have you ever seen somebody with penny red hair and then black eyes? It's bizarre.
I have.
Yeah, okay. So
A relation.
Oh, really?
Hair, yes. Red hair, yes. And Blanche, Michelle.
Okay, good.
Yes. Yes.
All right, here we go.
yeah, okay. So anyway, I devised a test to prove that she couldn't do what she said she could do, because I was logical. I was going to be a scientist, and you know, I knew better than that, even at age 7.
Yes.
I was really precocious, and she passed the test completely, and I was just astonished. And then she said, "Would you like to know how I did that?" And I said, "Yes." And she started to explain to me how she did it. And okay, so later on, she was living in an area of St. Louis where I partially grew up that was not a good area. It was lower middle class. It was old. And it was not a good place. And she had a husband named Raymond who always whistled when he spoke. And, yeah, boy, talk like this. So if I got to do Raymond, I actually should take a sip of water because you need a little bit more, you know, flow to him. But anyway, he had a 6th grade education. He really did. He was, you know, they stayed on the farm doing the, you know, the big one.
Yes.
And a nice man, really a nice man. Well, they lived in a house with 6 kids, and it was a 2-story house in this very lower middle class area or low class area. And she would iron shirts for neighbors to make extra money, and it was that kind of luck. Yes. Well, she started having problems with her back because she had hip dysplasia caused by polio when she was a child. You know, it caused the spine to be crooked, and that's just, you know, that's the way it was at one time. So she didn't want to go up and down those stairs anymore, so she got to thinking what she would really like is a nice 1-level ranch-style house in Creve Coeur or Ladue, which were the 2 finest neighborhoods in St. Louis. Well, if you look at the price of houses there compared to where they were living, that's like the rich versus the rundown, you know?
Yes,
it's, you know, Skid Row versus that. And of course, people would be like, there's no way you'll ever live there. You couldn't possibly afford, you know, the pavement on the driveway. You don't have any money. And the old clunker car, et cetera, et cetera. And she decided as an experiment, because she was always interested in what you can do with your mind. So every night, she started to write in a little notebook an idea of the house that she wanted. And what she would do is she would put details in it, but instead of being outside the house looking at it from the outside, like she was thinking of this house, she would actually imagine she was in the house looking out of the windows at her garden or out at the street or out at the yard. And she would imagine what baking cookies would smell like, and actually she used to make things like SpaghettiOs and okra. And her husband, Raymond, he liked cheese whiz sandwiches with peanut butter and jelly. So, and bologna. I mean, it was just, oh God. You know, that's I guess that's what they ate on the farm. They ate whatever was there. So, but she would imagine the smell of that and the feel of the carpeting on her feet, because, you know, on and on. All the typical senses that she had. She'd incorporate that until she felt that it was real and she was living there and felt the emotion of loving living there, okay?
Yes.
And so every night she would add a little to it and refine it, and it got clearer and clearer in her mind. And she kept doing this until she would fall asleep, feeling like she lived in this house. Well, about a year later, she was on a TV show, the Charlotte Peters show. She was a local celebrity. And a man was visiting St. Louis on a business trip. And this man didn't know her and didn't know Charlotte Peters, but he happened to flip on the TV as he just got to his hotel room, and it was on the channel, and it was right at the moment where Bevy was her name, walked onto the show, and she was describing some of her work with the police. She, as a citizen who was just trying to help the police quietly with their cases, and she had quite a lot of notoriety by then. She was really successful at it, more successful than people know. Later, she was featured on an In Search of episode with Leonard Nimoy, who played Spock. And almost the entire episode is about her and a particular missing woman. But back to our story. So this guy contacted her and wanted to know if she could apply her senses to an investment, and she had never tried that. And she was not interested in consulting with people. She was only interested in doing research, but she thought as just an experiment, she'll try to do something different just to see what happens. Well, he met with her, and she told him what she saw, and he left. And then a short while later, she found out that he invested all of his life savings into what she said, which made her panic. Oh my God. She was like, who the heck in their right mind? By the way, she didn't talk that way, but in my head she does. Who the heck in their right mind would invest their life savings in something some psychic would say, oh my God, right? Well, he invested the money that he had, and this was, back in the 70s, it was about $25,000, which, that's what he had. And, all right, so the investment wasn't going up. In fact, it was going down a bit, and then going down more and going down more. And he kept calling her, and he was she felt personally responsible, even though she wasn't. But she felt that way. Well, anyway, about 6 months later, the investment started to go up, and within a few more months from there, almost it was even less. His $25,000 investment, by the time he sold everything out, paid taxes and cleared it, netted him in his pocket $1,800,000.
Oh my goodness!
And the story got so around; it was published in newspapers. It was on. She was interviewed. It was one of the many stories about her that got to really started making her quite famous. So, in exchange for that, this man thought, I want to give her something for that. So he decided he wanted to buy her a house in Creve Court. And the very house he wanted to buy her was the house that he had imagined every night before she went to the exact house.
Goodness.
So he bought the house, paid the taxes, gave her, all of that. And so there's an example of when people say it's impossible, it'll never happen, there's no logical way to do it. Well, there was no logical way, but she had used her mind, and the chain of events occurred that led to her living in that house.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I keep staring at this picture of a home, a duplex home in Greenwich, Connecticut that I just love, but it's still closed to me.
Why don't you imagine one here?
Well, no, wait a minute. Hold on. Have you been in this duplex?
No.
You haven't been inside?
I drive by, and I've seen the pictures of it inside because at one time it was for sale, and I said to my mother, since my father was gone and my husband, Michelle's father, passed away, I thought, my mother said that we could buy 2 of them and live there. And no, I said that. My mother didn't say it. She said, Barbara, we could never afford that. And I said, I know, but I wish we could. But anyway, no, but I still have the paper clipping, and I look at it every once in a while. But we're lucky where we are, so it's fine. But I love that house.
What the technique that Bevy used, and people talk about today, was looking at the photo doesn't work.
No,
because
it doesn't.
Wait, hold on. I'm going to tell you why. Because you're thinking of that duplex by looking at the photo. You have to think, what would the world look like from the inside out?
Correct. Yes.
So you might look at it, but you have to feel the feeling of what it's like actually moving into that place and living there and looking out the windows or cooking something in the kitchen. That's what makes it work. Because you can think of something all day long. You have to think from the perspective that you're already there. Okay.
Yes.
So
that's your homework.
I can tell a million Bevy stories.
I know.
One of the
although how fun for her.
When it got around that she was had made this person a fortune or whatever, you could say that his instinct made her call her, but it was a bizarre timing set of effects. There's a love story about Bevy and Ray, which is interesting because she hated men and didn't want to see another. Or I can tell you about how the St. Louis Business Journal thought that can't be and wanted to challenge her publicly about using her instincts. Which one do you want to hear? The love story or the Business Journal challenging her? How much time do we have?
Oh boy, let's. How about the love story, and then we'll save the rest for next time.
Sure. Okay. So the love story goes like this. When she was very young, she hated living at home, and she just wanted to get away. And this man who looked, like a recruiting poster for the military, as it was in those days, promised to take her away. So her basic criteria was he was handsome, and he promised to take her away, from there. And where he took her to was a place called Klamath Falls, and he was working actually in the Air Force as in the secret radar base up there. But it was so secret. Yeah, but it was so secret that everybody in town and everyone with the logging camps knew what it was. Right?
Yes. Oh, well, yes. They may know what it is, but they'll never get in.
Well, that could be. But, I mean, whatever it was in the 1950s, right? So she was in a cabin that had occasional electricity, but not always. She had to pump water from a well by hand. She had to chop wood because she had a wood-burning stove.
Oh,
and,
my.
It was, she got away from her folks okay.
Yes. And she, certainly had some work to do, yes.
Well, I mean, she had 2 daughters with him there in that little cabin. And, it was a whole scene. Well, she was very unhappy with him for all kinds of reasons that probably are not, if we have more time, I would tell it if that was of interest.
Yeah.
But she eventually was so upset with him that she called back to St. Louis and called her dad, who was a cop, and said, I have to come home because if I don't come home now, I'm going to kill him.
You know what that's like.
Roasty over the fireplace.
She goes, well, I'm a really good shot and I'm not going to miss,
Ooh.
And so anyway, she did not kill him, but eventually she comes back to St. Louis, but her folks don't want her. And now she's imagine this, what the world was like then. It's the middle 1950s, and she has 2 little girls, and she's a divorcee. So back in those days, it was like a divorced woman with, single mom with kids. It's virtually unheard of, and it's like, oh my God, she's unclean. She used to wear some kind of bell that clangs as she walks down the street so people can, hide. Well, she now hates hates men, never wants to see another. All she wants to do is raise her girls, and that's it. And so for a number of years, her old friends would try to introduce her. She wouldn't go. She wouldn't even go to a party because she didn't want to meet a man. Well, one day she had a particularly miserable week, and she had a sitter while she was working, and the sitter had left part of the newspaper, and the newspaper was open on a kitchen table, and where the section that was open had an ad for a dance and a big band at the Casa Loma Theater, which was a big band, a dance palace back in the day. Yeah. And she started thinking that she had good memories dancing with the soldiers as a girl there, and she thought, well, maybe I could take the bus there and just sort of relive some happier memories. And she does.
Yes.
And you know, she, by the way, was so broke she couldn't afford a newspaper, but it just was, that section was there and open. And she gets there, doesn't know anybody, doesn't want to know anybody, and she sits at a table, and she is looking around, and she says, men came over to me, and many of them were short and bald. He goes, I'm short myself, and no woman, if they're telling you the truth, wants to be around another man that's short or bald. But she doesn't want anything to do with any man, right? And as she's doing that and, you know, enjoying a cigarette and whatever, she sees this tall man across the way, and all these women are talking with him, and she can tell that they're flirting with him, and she can kind of hear him go, okay, now, I'll dance with you. Okay, all right, you know, just after a while. So she notices that he has a flat top haircut. Do you guys know what a flat top is?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
Okay, but, you know, for the audience, in case they don't.
Mm-hmm. Yes, for the audience.
Right, a flat top haircut was a men's style, where they would almost butch-wax the hair straight up, and then they would cut it across like a tabletop.
Yeah.
It was a short. Military people would have that kind of haircut.
Mm-hmm. Popular. Yes, that's why I know. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So she looked at him, and she went, oh, that flat top's got to go. And the next thought was, she tapped her cigarette on, was, why do I care about some man's hair? Because she hates men, right? And then she notices that he's tall as he dances by, and he's actually a good dancer. And she's thinking, well, at least he's tall, but I hate his hair. Got to, that. So then she starts thinking, well, what do I care about the fact that he's tall or a good dancer? And that disturbs her some. Well, the next thing that happens is time passes, and he comes over to the table, and there's some other ladies sitting there, and he asks one of them to dance, and she feels jealous.
Ooh.
And she has never felt jealous before about any man, ever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now she's, she's a bit, shaken up a little, and she didn't know what to do with it. So later on still, he comes over and asks her to dance, and she's all prepared to say, no, thank you. And she opens her mouth to say, no, thank you, but the words okay came out.
Whoops.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And so she said, so we framed up, and when I held his big hands and he held my hands in his big hands, and I looked at his sincere big brown eyes, my knees went weak. He actually had to hold me up for a second because I thought I was going to fall over. And she goes, I don't know what happened to me then, but it was like I got hit with a bolt of lightning or something. And my heart jumped. And as we danced, all I could really see was his eyes, and everything else around me collapsed into his eyes. And we lost track of time, and the evening then was over. It was fairly close to the end of the evening anyway. And it was she had missed her bus home. The last bus left at midnight, and she had no way home. And so she asked him for a ride home, and he gave her his number because she wouldn't give him her number because she was really confused at this point because he's a man and she doesn't want to have, some man calling her. Yes. Now, Shelley, when a woman says to a man, I don't like to give my number out, but I'll take yours. What does that generally mean?
You ain't getting a call, bro.
That's right. It's a non-confrontational way of saying no, thank you, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. And also, you know, this is the 1950s. Women didn't call men in the 1950s, you know.
No. Oh, well.
Oh, no. That.
Oh.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
okay,
I guess
maybe
I
some
was
did,
too young.
but that was kind of hussy behavior, you know.
Oh, okay. I wasn't old enough then.
That's all right.
Yeah, well, no. So she takes the number, walks into the house. Remember, she's short, and she reaches up on her tiptoes and places his number on top of her refrigerator. And why she did that, she doesn't know. But she was tired, it was late, and she just stuck the number on the top of the fridge. Well,
yes.
Some weeks go by, and she keeps thinking of this man and keep trying to not think of this man.
Oh.
And now she has a tragic. Oh, by the way, are you enjoying the story? Because I can certainly tell another story.
Oh, I love it. I'm trying to be quiet, though.
It's very hard for her, but yes.
Yes, it's very hard for me to be quiet, but I love it.
Oh, okay, all right. You know, like I don't want to bore you. Right?
Oh, yeah.
No.
So.
Oh, no. I'm trying not to have Tim have to edit me out.
No, we don't do that here.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, hey, yeah. So,
Too much disturbance.
I know.
bad week. Boss is yelling at her. She works several jobs, which she doesn't like, but she does what she has to do to make ends meet for her girls.
Yes.
Now, the week is over, and she had her paid the bills, and she had 15 cents left until her next paycheck. And it was the weekend, and it was, the weather was nice, but it was a bad week. And
Yes.
she thought what she would do is she would take her girls down the street to the corner drugstore and buy a bottle of Best orange soda.
Oh.
And split the bottle between her girls so they could have a little bit of treat for the weekend. And they were all looking forward to it. And they happily walked down, to the corner drug. And she buys this bottle. And bottles in those, I feel like in those things, the bottles, they were glass, the other things.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes.
It was a glass bottle, and the girls are now fighting over it. He gets to carry it on.
Oh.
Yes.
And on the way, the bottle slips out of one of their hands, hits the sidewalk, and smashes.
Oh.
Oh.
And now that was the real, cherry on the doily of that week for her. Her daughters are crying. They're hysterical. She has no way to replace it. She feels like just terrible about it.
Oh.
And on an impulse then, when she gets home, she says, what did I do with the number for that guy?
Yeah.
But she can't remember where she put it. And remember, she's short, so she wouldn't, it's on the top of the fridge. She wouldn't see it.
Right.
So she tells her girls to look for it, and they look all over, and they can't find it. And then all of a sudden it dawns on her she put it on top of the fridge. So she gets it down, and on an impulse, mostly because she's really unhappy with her day and the week, she calls him. Now, again, in those days, the phone was bolted to the wall in the kitchen.
Yes.
So there was no call waiting. There was call waiting was a busy signal. I mean, that was it.
Right.
So he happens to be home, and he answered the phone, and she says, here's what I said to him. I said, Ray, Debbie, want to do something? And he says, well, yeah, I could do something. Tell you what, why don't I get my boys? Because he had 3 boys.
Oh.
And he says, now I'll get my truck. He had a flatbed pickup truck. And he says, I'll drive on over, and I'll pick up you and your girls, and we'll go on over to this apple orchard, and they can pick apples and all, and we can talk. So they go to the apple orchard. The kids are having fun because they're thinking they could make candy apples and stuff. So they're on down the thing picking apples, and Ray takes Bevy and kind of leads her behind one of the trees so the kids don't see it. He starts sort of dancing with her again. And she said, it was that moment, I decided we're going to be together. That's it.
Oh, how
Now,
sweet.
there's a detail that I should add here.
Mm-hmm.
He was still married.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Well, that can be remedied.
Well, okay, but
Sorry.
Mom will take
in
care of it.
Missouri-
She's Italian. She's got some.
Yeah, right.
She's got some connections.
No, not that way.
Oh,
no.
good.
Hey, listen. You want to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy, but she is not happy with you. So what do we do about this situation, right? So, no, that's not what happened. He could not get legally divorced from his wife because in Missouri, it was back in the days when you had to prove some kind of fault.
Oh, dear.
And his wife was institutionalized because she was a paranoid schizophrenic. And mental illness was considered part of the vows in sickness or in health, and they wouldn't let him get divorced. However, Bevy said, you know what? I don't care now. Now it's the 50s, and I'm a divorcee, and you're technically still married, but I'm moving in with you. We're just going to live together.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Because he went from I hate men to I'm not passing up this opportunity. This is my man now. And ultimately, they found a lawyer who figured out there was fraud in that marriage and had it annulled.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Oh,
and
she
when
actually
they got married,
Oh, I thought they just moved in with each other.
well, they did move in, but then Bevy found a lawyer who figured out that because of his wife's mental illness that the family hid from him, she did not have the capacity to enter into a contract of marriage. And the judge annulled the marriage.
Oh, I see. Wonderful.
Right. And of course, it's like, okay, marriage annulled. You two want to get married now? Okay. You know? And they did.
My goodness.
And they said, and so they had $10 between them. And by the time they paid for the license and the little test and the preacher and a steak dinner that they split, they had no money left. So they had no money until Ray's next paycheck, but 5 kids.
Yes.
Wow.
But and 5 children. Oh my goodness. Well, they can pick apples again.
Well, actually, they ended up with another because Bevy thought that they had to have a kid between them to sort of bring the families together.
Oh.
And anyhow, they were very happy with each other for 42 years. And one night, many years ago, I was visiting Bevy and Ray. And are we going long? Do I have another few minutes?
Sure, yes.
Yes, we can't stop now.
I was visiting, and it was the summertime. And Bevy liked to sleep all day and then stay up all night because she was a writer and she was often a guest on overnight talk shows and stuff. She liked it when it was quiet, where she could think.
Oh my goodness!
So we were talking about, stuff, and Ray comes walking in. This is probably 2:33 in the morning. And he stands behind her, and she's seated facing me at the kitchen table. And I look up, and I notice that Ray doesn't seem to have a shirt on, And he says, so I just wanted to come in and just share some ice cream with old sweetie here. Boy, I tell you, I'm just the luckiest man. And Bevy taps his hand on her shoulder and looks up at him and then looks down and says, Ray, put some clothes on. My God, you're naked. And Ray laughs. And he goes, oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot Lance is here. And then he walks over to the freezer and says, well, ain't nothing Lance ain't seen before, right? And Bevy goes, get in the bedroom and put on a robe. Right? So he goes, okay, I'll do it directly, right? So he goes, and Bevy looks at me and kind of cocks her head with a grin and says, find somebody that after being together for all those years still wants to share a bowl of ice cream with you in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And until you find that person, have fun, but wait for that person. And so,
yeah,
I've had some good examples. So there you are.
Wow.
Oh,
Well, that is
that
a
is
great
such a.
closing
Go ahead, honey.
story.
You're the director.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not very
Yes.
good at that.
It was a wonderful story. Oh, I won't tell it now, but I have.
Good.
Well, I
No.
have a similar story, but
Oh, yes.
after 50 years. Oh my goodness, that is so wonderful.
Yes.
I love that story.
We will get into that one later for sure.
Yes,
But
another episode.
yes,
Oh, Lance, you are a wonderful storyteller and so talented with your voices of Ray. Oh, wonderful.
And
Oh,
Phyllis.
thank you.
Just wonderful.
Oh, God.
You
Of
found
all the
your
voices I
niche.
can do.
I think as a closing, maybe Phyllis could do the outro. And
Oh, no.
thank you for listening to On the Line with Babsie, Phyllis, and Lance. If you want to give contact information or your website or something, so
Okay,
people
wait.
can
So
find
the
out
line
about-
is thank you. Okay, well, so the line is thank you for listening to what's the line?
On the Line with Babsie.
Okay.
Thank you for listening already. Go on the line with Babsie. Tune in every week. I know I will. Now I gotta go make a nice stew.
So, my contact
Perfect.
is Lance at carbuncle.tv. That's Lance, Lance, at CAR, like CAR, like a car, a bunkle, or carb, like you eat too many of those. Carb uncle. Carb plus uncle. Lance at carbuncle.tv.
Got it. Perfect.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
Well, thank
That
you
is
very much. And thank you,
wonderful.
Mom, for being here.
oh, you're welcome, honey bunch. And
Oh,
Lance, it was just a delight to meet you. And I look forward to doing this again with you.
It was fun.
It
Glad
was
to do it.
wonderful. Oh, and I hope
Good.
someday that when things are a little better, that we can come out, your brother and I can come out, and we can all be together, Tim and Michelle and you and all the people, and just have a wonderful time together doing voices. Well, just having a lovely sit-down fun time.
yes,
Thank
2022.
you so much. That was lovely.
Yes, it was.
Oh, well,
Lovely.
you're very
All right.
kind, and it was a pleasure for me. Glad to do it again.
Great. Thank
Oh.
you. Well,
That is wonderful. Take care, Lance, until
Yes.
we meet again.
yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Bye, guys.
Thank you. See ya.
Bye, Lance.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Oh, how wonderful that
Yes.
was.
Yes, it was. And goodbye to you, too.
Oh, yes. And I will talk to you sometime. And goodbye to Tim, too. And
Yes.
have a wonderful Thanksgiving and everything.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, so
See
do I hang
ya.
up now?
Yes, hang up.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
Bye.
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 Bye, honey bunch. Bye, Tim. Bye.